be able to see the Avengers movie.
That's right. Oh, my God, we have to sign NDAs or do gag orders or something.
You sure do, absolutely.
But why is it? Is it because Mark can't be trusted? Is it because the rest of you can't be trusted?
Why does everyone say that?
In one of the most stunning and devastating events in entertainment history, multiple core Avengers cast members have reportedly quit Disney and Marvel Studios and signed massive new deals with DC Studios to join the rebooted DC universe under James Gunn and Peter Safran's leadership. According to multiple sources with knowledge of the situation, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, and potentially other MCU veterans have collectively walked away from Marvel after years of mounting frustrations with Disney's treatment of talent, creative direction, and compensation practices. This isn't just actors changing studios for better opportunities. This is a coordinated rebellion by the people who built the most successful franchise in film history, abandoning it for Marvel's biggest competitor while making a public statement that Disney has become impossible to work with. This is absolutely catastrophic for Disney and Marvel on every conceivable level. First, these are the actors who defined the MCU, whose performances created the emotional core of the franchise, and whose characters are synonymous with Marvel in the public consciousness. Losing them simultaneously represents the complete dismantling of the Avengers brand that took over a decade to build. Second, the fact that they've signed with DC.
Arm, you in there? Arm?
Rather than just retiring or pursuing other projects, represents a direct competitive threat, with Marvel's talent now actively working to build up their biggest rival. Third, the reported coordination of this mass exodus suggests these actors communicated with each other about their shared frustrations with Disney and decided collectively that leaving was preferable to continuing under current conditions. Fourth, this validates every criticism about Disney's post-Endgame management of Marvel and demonstrates that the problems aren't just fan perception, but are severe enough that the franchise's most important talent won't tolerate them anymore. Let's break down what allegedly drove multiple Avengers cast members to this unprecedented decision, what their DC deals reportedly include, how this coordinated defection happened, and what this means for both Marvel's future and DC's ambitions to finally compete with the MCU. According to sources close to multiple Avengers actors, the frustrations that led to this mass defection had been building for years across multiple overlapping issues. The problems weren't unique to any one actor, but represented a pattern of Disney behavior that affected most or all of the core Avengers cast in similar ways. The financial issues centered on Disney's attempts to reduce compensation for post-Endgame appearances, while expecting actors to maintain the same commitment and promotional obligations. According to insiders, Disney approached multiple original Avengers about returning for cameos, Disney Plus series, or the upcoming Avengers films with salary offers that were substantially lower than what these actors had been making at the peak of the Infinity Saga. Disney's apparent logic was that since these actors had already made significant money from Marvel, and since their characters had completed their main story arcs, they should accept reduced compensation for any additional work. This approach infuriated actors who felt they were being asked to subsidize Disney's projects by working for below-market rates after spending a decade building value that Disney was now capitalizing on. Chris Evans was allegedly offered a fraction of his previous salary for potential Avengers appearances. Scarlett Johansson's lawsuit over Black Widow's release strategy highlighted Disney's willingness to change compensation structures in ways that hurt actors financially.
Do you keep your food shut up?
Oop. All right, you're up, little buddy. There's our stone.
Mark Ruffalo was reportedly frustrated by offers for Hulk-related projects that didn't reflect the character's importance or his own value as an actor. The creative disrespect came from multiple directions. According to sources, the actors felt that Disney and Marvel were more interested in using their faces and names for marketing purposes than in actually involving them in meaningful storytelling. They were offered cameos and brief appearances designed to capitalize on nostalgia, rather than roles that honored their characters or gave them substantial material to work with. Several actors reportedly felt that Marvel's post-Endgame creative direction represented a degradation of the quality and integrity that characterized the Infinity Saga. They watched projects like some Phase 4 and Phase 5 films, and series struggle with poor writing, tonal inconsistency, and creative choices that seem designed to serve corporate agendas agendas, rather than to tell good stories. The fear was that returning to Marvel meant associating themselves with declining quality that would damage their reputations and legacies. There was also frustration about the lack of creative input actors were given. According to insiders, Kevin Feige and Marvel's creative team became increasingly unwilling to listen to actors' concerns or suggestions about their characters. The collaborative atmosphere that characterized the Infinity Saga apparently gave way to a more top-down approach where actors were expected to execute Marvel's vision without question, even when they had legitimate concerns about story or character choices. But according to multiple sources, the breaking point came from how Disney treated these actors during personal crises or when they needed support. The pattern of Disney prioritizing corporate interests over talent well-being, visible in Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow lawsuit.
Art means no talking to our past. Sells, no betting on sporting events.
I'm gonna stop you right there, Scott.
In reported responses to various actors' health issues, and in general communication that treated actors as assets rather than as people, created resentment that festered until it became impossible to maintain the relationship. The actors reportedly felt that Disney's loyalty to them extended only as far as their immediate utility, that the decade-plus of service they'd given Marvel meant nothing when weighed against quarterly earnings reports and streaming subscriber numbers. This realization that Disney viewed them as replaceable commodities rather than as partners who'd built something valuable together destroyed whatever goodwill remained after the financial and creative frustrations. According to industry insiders, DC Studios under James Gunn and Peter Safran began approaching disgruntled Marvel actors in late 2023 and early 2024, sensing opportunity in the widespread dissatisfaction with Disney's management. Gunn, who had worked with Marvel before moving to DC, apparently understood the specific frustrations these actors were experiencing and positioned DC as offering everything Marvel no longer provided: creative collaboration, fair compensation, respect for talent, and genuine partnership rather than corporate exploitation. The pitch to the Avengers actors was apparently comprehensive and compelling. DC offered multi-film deals with compensation packages that substantially exceeded what Disney was offering, with back-end participation and bonuses structured to reward actors for franchise success. More importantly, DC offered creative input and collaboration, promising that actors would be genuine partners in building the new DC universe rather than just hired performers executing someone else's vision. DC also apparently emphasized that joining the rebooted DCU meant being present at the creation of something new, rather than trying to recapture past glory with Marvel. Instead of playing characters who'd already completed their arcs in diminished sequel appearances, they could create new iconic performances with fresh characters who had years of storytelling potential ahead of them. The personal touch apparently mattered as well. According to sources, Gunn and Safran spent significant time with each actor individually, listening to their frustrations with Marvel, understanding what they valued in creative partnerships, and demonstrating genuine respect for their contributions to superhero cinema. The contrast between this personalized, respectful approach and Disney's apparent view of actors as interchangeable assets was stark enough to make DC's offer compelling, even to actors who'd spent over a decade identifying with Marvel. According to multiple sources, the coordination of this mass exodus happened through informal conversations among the Avengers, cast members who'd stayed in touch after Endgame.
But right now, that kid needs me, and I can't do any of this without your help.
The actors apparently began sharing their individual frustrations with Disney and Marvel and realized that they were all experiencing similar problems: lowball salary offers, creative disrespect, feeling undervalued despite their contributions, and recognizing that Disney's loyalty didn't extend beyond immediate corporate needs. These conversations apparently led to the realization that their shared frustrations gave them collective leverage. If they were all unhappy with Disney, and if Disney was making attractive offers to multiple actors, why not coordinate their departures to maximize impact and demonstrate that the problems weren't individual personality conflicts, but systemic issues with how Disney treats talent? The decision to sign with DC collectively, rather than just leaving Marvel separately, apparently came from wanting to make a statement that would force attention to the problems they'd experienced, and from recognizing that joining DC as a group would generate more excitement and opportunity opportunity than individual signings would create. It also ensured that they'd be working together again, recreating some of the ensemble dynamic that made the Avengers films special while building something new. According to reports, the specifics of which Avengers actors have signed with DC vary, but the core group apparently includes Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, and Mark Ruffalo, with Jeremy Renner, Paul Rudd, and potentially others also in discussions. The roles they'll play in the DCU haven't been officially announced, but sources indicate they'll be major characters with significant presence across multiple films rather than just cameos or supporting roles. Chris Evans is reportedly signed to play a character in the rebooted Justice League, with speculation that he might be playing either a new version of Green Lantern or another major DC hero. The role was apparently written specifically for Evans, with input from the actor about the character's personality and arc. Evans' deal is reportedly worth well over $100 million across multiple films, with significant back-end participation. Scarlett Johansson is allegedly playing a major female character in the DCU, possibly Wonder Woman or another A-list hero, with a deal that addresses all her frustrations with how Disney handled Black Widow and her compensation. Johansson's involvement is particularly symbolic, given her very public dispute with Disney. Her willingness to work with DC after that experience sends a powerful message about which studio she trusts. Mark Ruffalo is reportedly joining the DCU in a significant role, with guarantees about how his character will be handled and developed over time. After years of frustration that the Hulk never got a solo film in the MCU, and that Bruce Banner was often sidelined or used primarily for comic relief,
even though you can't be with the ones you love, there are worlds where you are together. Is that not enough?
Ruffalo apparently jumped at DC's offer to give him material worthy of his talents and a character arc that would span multiple films. The financial terms across all these deals are reportedly substantially better than what Disney was offering. DC apparently understood that to pull actors away from the franchise they'd defined, they needed to offer compensation that reflected both the actors' market value and the symbolic importance of their defection. Sources indicate the combined value of these deals exceeds $500 million, representing a massive investment by DC in proven superhero talent. More important than the money, according to people close to the actors, is the creative partnership DC has promised. The actors reportedly have input on scripts, character development, and creative direction, with commitments that their concerns will be heard and addressed. They're being treated as collaborators building a shared universe, rather than as employees executing corporate mandates. The reaction within Disney and Marvel to this mass defection has reportedly been panic mixed with denial. According to insiders, there's shock that multiple Avengers actors would coordinate their departures and sign with DC, disbelief that the problems were severe enough to trigger this kind of mass exodus, and anger at the actors for what Disney executives apparently view as disloyalty after everything Marvel did for their careers. But according to sources, there's also recognition within some quarters of Disney and Marvel that this disaster was self-inflicted, that the company's treatment of these actors created the conditions for their defection, and that fundamental changes to talent management and compensation practices are necessary to prevent further departures. Whether Disney will actually make those changes or will continue blaming actors for being ungrateful remains to be seen. Marvel Studios is reportedly scrambling to figure out how to move forward with their planned Avengers films and other projects that were built around the assumption that at least some of the original Avengers would be available for appearances. The loss of multiple core cast members simultaneously creates massive narrative and marketing problems that will require extensive rewrites and recalibration of the entire franchise direction. There are also reports of emergency meetings about whether Disney should attempt to win these actors back with substantially improved offers, or whether the damage is too extensive to repair. According to sources, some Disney executives believe the actors might return if offered enough money and creative control, while others recognize that the relationship has been damaged beyond repair, and that attempting to win them back would just lead to public rejection that would further humiliate Disney. The fan reaction to the reported mass defection has been mixed, but largely supportive of the actors. Many fans express sadness that the original Avengers cast is leaving Marvel.
An incursion occurs when the boundary between two universes erodes.
Mourning the end of an era and the knowledge that we'll never see these actors together as the Avengers again. There's genuine grief over the loss of these portrayals that defined a generation of superhero cinema. But there's also widespread support for the actors' decision to leave, with fans acknowledging that Disney's treatment of talent has been problematic and that the actors deserve better than what they were apparently being offered. the sympathy is overwhelmingly with the actors rather than with Disney, with most fans viewing the defection as a justified response to corporate mistreatment rather than as betrayal. There's also significant excitement about what these actors might do at DC. The prospect of Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, and potentially others bringing their talents to DC characters generates genuine enthusiasm about DC's potential to finally create a cinematic universe that can compete with Marvel. If DC can succeed with this incredible influx of proven superhero talent, it would represent a complete reversal of the Marvel-DC dynamic that's defined superhero cinema for over a decade. For DC Studios, this mass signing represents the opportunity of a lifetime, the chance to build their rebooted universe with actors who've proven they can carry superhero franchises to multi-billion-dollar success. James Gunn and Peter Safran have essentially acquired the core of Marvel's most successful era and can now use that talent to build something that competes directly with the MCU. The challenge for DC is delivering on the promises they've made to these actors. If DC provides the creative collaboration, fair compensation, and respectful treatment they've committed to, they could create something special that validates the actors' decision to leave Marvel. But if DC fails to honor those commitments, or if the projects don't succeed creatively and commercially, it will confirm that the problems in superhero filmmaking extend beyond just Disney and Marvel. The symbolic value of this signing cannot be overstated.
Feel bad.
Sorry.
They're happy to.
They said they'll do it. I don't want to.
No, you feel bad.
Take the goddamn.
DC has essentially won the talent war with Marvel by offering what Disney wouldn't: respect, fair pay, creative partnership, and recognition that actors are the irreplaceable foundation of successful franchises. This could mark a turning point where DC becomes the destination for top superhero talent, rather than being Marvel's perpetual runner-up. The Avengers cast quitting Disney and signing with DC represents the complete collapse of Marvel's talent retention strategy and the validation of every criticism about how Disney has managed the post-Endgame MCU. These actors gave Marvel over a decade of committed work, helped build a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and delivered performances that defined modern superhero cinema. Disney's response was apparently to treat them as replaceable, to lowball their compensation, to ignore their creative input, and to demonstrate through action that loyalty flows only one direction, from talent to corporation, but never from corporation to talent. The actors' coordinated decision to leave together and sign with DC sends an unmistakable message. Marvel's golden era is definitively over. The people who made it special are gone, and they're now actively working to build something better with Marvel's biggest competitor. This isn't just about individual career moves. It's a referendum on Disney's management of the most valuable franchise in film history, and the verdict is damning. Disney spent over a decade building the Avengers into cultural icons worth billions. They've now lost those actors because they were too cheap, too disrespectful, and too focused on short-term cost savings to recognize that the franchise's value came from the people bringing it to life rather than from the corporate machinery behind it. That failure of understanding is now costing Disney the very foundation of their superhero empire, with those foundational pieces now being used to build a competing structure that could eclipse what Marvel has become. The Avengers assembled once to save the universe. Now they've assembled again, but this time to save themselves from Disney, and potentially to save superhero cinema from the corporate exploitation that was destroying what made it special. Whether they succeed at DC remains to be seen, but their decision to try represents the most significant shift in the superhero film landscape since the MCU began. Marvel built something incredible and then destroyed it through arrogance and greed. DC gets a second chance because Disney threw away its first. That's the story of how the Avengers quit Disney, and it's a tragedy that didn't have to happen.
Confusing times.
Right. No, that's not what I meant.
No, I get it. I'm kidding.